You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Monday. We're back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team. Hopefully we'll be back every day now. I think I'm done with the bereavement for now. So appreciate your patience, everyone who's obviously wanting content, and obviously I'm been going through it. So nonetheless, we are going to get into today. At the end, we're going to talk a little bit about Michigan, Illinois. Obviously, Michigan plays Michigan State this upcoming week, but I want to spend the first two segments talking about how Charmin soft the Ohio State program and their fan base and all of that is, because they are a ridiculous bunch. It is absurd how ridiculous they are. And I'm going to use my phone here to pull up some things, just because my mouse is dead here on my computer and I didn't want to delay anymore. But let's get to the impetus of what this is all about. This all started with J.J. McCarthy, through an NIL situation, sat down with Wolverine Digest, and he said, asked about the Ohio State rivalry, said, for us, the whole 10-year stretch of us not winning, that's all we know is beating Ohio State right now, so we're going to keep that going. That is a factual statement, especially for a second-year player, believe it or not. And this is something that I had said on the podcast forever ago, back after they beat them, was that's a monkey off their backs, because there's a situation in the sense of, if all you know is losing to the Buckeyes, then when you're holding a tenuous lead, like Michigan was for a lot of that game, it's easy to make a mistake and have it be a here we go again type scenario, especially for Ohio State. They know the opposite, right? They make some mistakes. It's like, okay, well, you have the confidence to go out there and make a big play, because you know when you're facing a team like Michigan that you can win that game. It's just like when 2020 aside, Indiana, Michigan found itself in some very precarious moments against Indiana multiple times over the last decade plus. In the Rich Rod era, there was a couple games that Indiana certainly could and should have won. In the Jim Harbaugh era, there were 2 overtime games. But Michigan knows, it has the athletes as well, of course, but it knows that in that street fight, like, we don't lose to Indiana. They have the confidence to go out there and do that. So Michigan, now, the players that are on the roster now, and most of them have only played Ohio State once at this point. I mean, except for the seniors, the super seniors and such, because they didn't play in 2020. So anyone who is entering their second or third year, which is a lot of the roster, only knows wins against Ohio State. Those who are fourth-year players are 1-1 against them. So it's a factual statement. And if you are this team that just is known for going and taking it to another team, and for all of the talk that Ohio State people like to say, well, you won win in a decade, you don't need to make a relatively innocuous comment a bulletin board deal, right? Wrong, apparently, because the Ohio State football program already has that quote up on a screen inside Woody Hayes Athletic Center, which to me is further proof of how Charmin soft that program has become. And it's not just the one thing, it's a lot of different things, right? It's wanting to not play in the elements, you know, having a playoff game. Now, they're not doing an expanded playoff anyways, but, you know, Gene Smith's comments of, if we have an expanded playoff, well, you're going to want to play it in Lucas Oil Stadium, completely negating your geographical advantage. The fact of the matter is Columbus's climate isn't exactly terribly different than Ann Arbor. It is different, not by a heck of a lot. To all of the talk all in the lead up to the game on November 27th about how specifically this is from their journalists that cover Ohio State, that they, this is from On 3. I don't want to misattribute this, but I'm pretty sure it was Austin Ward who said this on Letterman Row, that Aiden Hutchinson wasn't going to do anything against this vaunted Ohio State offensive line. This is among the best offensive lines that have existed in Columbus. It's right up there with 2014. It's so good. It's just so good. And him, he can go up against whoever he wants and whatever, but when he's going up against DeJuan Jones and Nicholas Petit-Frere, good luck, my friend. You're not going to get anything done. And it goes from being a vaunted, one of the best Ohio State defensive lines in history, or offensive lines in history, to Greg Studrawa getting fired in the offseason, which to me, by the way, is a giant overreaction. I don't think it's that Studrawa was a bad offensive line coach. I think it's that offensive line ran into a potential number 1 overall pick in Aiden Hutchinson and another first-round pick in David Ajabo. But you do you, Ohio State. You go and do you. And there's just been so much, I don't want to say bitterness because there's always been bitterness, but they cannot handle the fact that Michigan won that game. They cannot handle it. Whether it's in the program or the fan base likes to act like nothing happened, likes to act like, okay, you got one in 10 years or whatever. But meanwhile, as we're waiting for the college football playoff, we're trying to work out scenarios in which they could get in, and it's like, you don't deserve to get in. You got your you-know-what handed to you, guys. You got your you-know-what handed to you. Better luck next time. That's, unfortunately, Michigan's been on that end 2016, 2018. Better luck next time. Don't lose that game then. But they are just unhinged, and it is hilarious. We're going to continue this conversation here momentarily, but listen, football might be over for the season, but basketball is full steam ahead for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, betonline.net is the number 1 spot for all of your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season, and it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to Olympic coverage and information. I mean, we're a little bit past that, but okay. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, let's talk about this silky soft fan base. Because I knew when I wrote an article saying Ohio State still can't deal with the loss to Michigan, detailing some of this stuff, I knew I was going to get some ad hominem attacks, right? I only got a couple, but it's insane. It is insane. Let's go to the Twitter machine. So where were we? I had it up and I lost it. I literally pulled out of it as soon as I was up there. So Dan Hughes at Go Buckeyes for Life, and yes, I am actually calling out Dan Hughes at Go Buckeyes for Life, replied to my article saying, and the award with the most cringe Twitter Avi goes to this clown shoes. I called him out for the ad hominem attack, and he continued saying that where is it? Anyway, he just said it was the most embarrassing thing that I'm in a suit in my Twitter pic. I'm sorry, I don't apologize for wearing a suit. I wore one for 4 years straight. I'm glad I don't wear one very often. If I should apologize for anything, it's for wearing this Disney hoodie. Definitely won't apologize for the available soon at MDen Michigan versus everybody hat. So from Valiant, make sure that you go and get that. But if anything, I should apologize for this hoodie. And guess what? I won't, because I love this hoodie. I love it. And it's hilarious to me that there are people that are, out there that it's like they take it that serious. But that's how they are in Columbus, right? We've dealt with this Charmin Soft program for a while, and leading up into the week of the game, I was telling some colleagues of mine, just based off of the responses to things like that, like Jim Harbaugh or Aiden Hutchinson said, in the lead up to the game, we are not going to bow down to Ohio State. We are not going to play scared of Ohio State. And they couldn't handle that. That was to them, that was just, you can't say that. That's ridiculous. I remember getting torched on 11 Warriors, and I love that. I love that site, or at least I love the people that work in that site. But I remember getting torched on 11 Warriors because I said Ohio State was going to win, but Michigan was going to make it a game. And they're like, this idiotic fool who refuses to bow down to the Ohio State University. I am sorry. You are still a football team. I still picked you guys to win, and yet that's upsetting, and then you didn't win. And you can't handle it. Well, to you, the Ohio State fan that is upset about anything that is said after Michigan's win, no matter what it is, because they say, oh, they shouldn't be talking, as if they didn't talk every single day about everything after win 1 in 2004, all the way until right up until the final bell. Because Ohio State people were still talking during the half. I remember watching Twitter and seeing, respectable Ohio State journalists saying, like, Michigan is in trouble going into halftime with a 2-point lead and all of that because they had opened up a can of worms and whatever. So to you, the Ohio State person who is super upset, the only thing I have to say to you is 42-27, Big Ten champions. That's it. You can mock my appearance. You can mock Michigan fans for being happy about the win and all of this stuff. The truth of the matter is, Michigan took you to the woodshed, right? I'm sorry. Deal with it. Well, we're going to deal with it in Columbus. Maybe, maybe not. Michigan loses in Columbus, guess what? Michigan fans are going to have to deal with it again, like they've done for a long time. But maybe they won't, because your coach, born on third base coach, which I think is appropriate. I think that's an appropriate comment by Jim Harbaugh, by the way, because he did inherit a monolith. And in normal cases, someone who hadn't really had much head coaching experience, you'd sit and taking over a program of the level of Ohio State, yeah, you'd question it. He had a couple interim games in which Ohio State looked okay. And then, I mean, it's not too much different than Mark Helfrich taking over Oregon. You can sit there and say whatever about Ryan Day, but guess what? Mark Helfrich also made it to a national championship game against Ohio State and lost, but nonetheless. And then where is he now? What's he doing now? He's not the head coach of a notable Power 5 program, to my knowledge. It's an accurate comment. And you can be upset about that all you want, but it's accurate. He's got to prove his mettle with his own players. And you know what? I think it'll be pretty good because they recruit pretty amazing down in Columbus, unfortunately. But you know what? Maybe you win in Columbus. Maybe you don't. A lot of you try to make heads and tails of, does, Michigan loses basically the whole roster. No, it loses half of its defense. Loses Hassan Haskins, Andrew Stuber, and Andrew Vistardis. But it returns everyone else on offense. It's got some pretty highly thought of players stepping in for all of them, whether it be Carson Barnhart or Trente Jones taking over Stuber. You've still got Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards at running back. You've got Olu Oluwatimi coming in at center. Maybe, maybe not. But guess what? You'll find out November 26th whether or not you get that revenge, because certainly in 2004, 2005, when Michigan lost to Ohio State, it felt like a blip, right? especially 2005. That one felt like that was Michigan's game, and then it didn't end well. Felt like Michigan stopped playing the last couple minutes of the game, and Ohio State won, and it just felt like, all right, well, get them next year, and then another year, and then another year, and then another year goes by, and things aren't any different. There are some of us who have lived through the John Cooper era, and right now Ryan Day is 1-1. He could be 2-1. He could be 1-2, and then see how that works. And you can sit there and say, well, Michigan's defense is going to take a step back. Well, guess what? By the end of the season, maybe Michigan's defense will be rolling like it was the end of this last season. Michigan actually got better as the weeks went forward. Michigan's got a pretty easy schedule this year, which might hurt them a little bit in the sense of if they haven't played anybody and they run into Ohio State, maybe it, I don't know. But nothing you can say to any Michigan fan I don't know why you're even trying to talk to Michigan reporters, because we do not care. But your prerogative, weirdo Buckeye fans, aside from my friends that are Buckeyes, which I do have friends and unfortunately my entire dad's side of the family who I have not heard from since November 27th about anything. But anyway, all right, let's talk a little basketball just for a few moments. Obviously, Michigan lost to Illinois. Valiant effort coming back. Kind of felt like, oh, maybe they can do it, and then Illinois pulls away again. But we'll get to that momentarily. First, I got to tell you a little bit about something called Built Bar. Y'all know how much I love Built Bar. I have another box coming of the white chocolate cookies and cream. I've never had it. I am super stoked because I know that they will deliver. And I'm not talking about the postal service, but I know that they will deliver with how good it will be, because I love everything Built Bar. Everything that I've had from Built Bar has been phenomenal. If you don't know what it is, it's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's high protein, low calorie, low carb, everything you need. And now that I am on a very strict diet, trying to get back to my pre-COVID weight, my playing weight, so to speak. Didn't play nothing, but, if I played something, that's what I'm trying to get back to. And Built Bar is going to be very integral in that process because, most bars are like 130 calories. You can't beat that with like 20 grams of protein. Come on now. So don't delay. Do like me. I put my money where my mouth is. I've bought dozens of boxes of my own volition. Go to built.com, put in the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your next order. That's built.com, promo code LOCKED15. All right, I had fun trashing Ohio State because they deserve a little bit of getting their face shoved into the mud. One of the things that, and like me, I'm a little bit more fair game to some degree because, I went to Michigan and y'all know who I am and whatever as far as like how I handle things, but I'm not much of an S talker, I'm just not, never have been my entire life. But most of the people that they go after don't care. It's like, why are you going after reporters? And the same with Michigan State people. Why are you going after reporters? That's so to you out there, if you're a Michigan fan thinking about going after a rival reporter, some of them are ridiculous, but a lot of them just don't care. And some of the ones that I know that people don't like are actually really good people. I'm not talking about any. I do have some Ohio State friends that are in the media, but I have a person in mind that doesn't cover either of the two main rival schools that is just a great, great person and doesn't deserve all the hate that people give to him on the Michigan side. I'll go ahead and say his name, Tom Loy. Tom Loy does not deserve the hate. I understand. He totally, everything's pro Notre Dame. He came on this podcast and said he didn't see how Notre Dame could lose in 2019 before they got the brakes beat off of them. That said, Tom Loy is a great, great dude. And I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for him. And he is a kind, caring, compassionate person. And that's also a reminder that things are bigger than sports, But nonetheless, let's talk a little basketball. So, valiant effort by Michigan to come back. It just seemed like the shooting wasn't there when it needed to be. Although Devontae Jones, man, he just put the team on his back. That's the type of performance I think we've been all kind of waiting to see from Devontae Jones. And it's been ramping up to that, which is, I think, the cool thing to see is when he goes out and takes his shot, he can make it. He can make something happen. It very end of career Xavier Simpson like, good at facilitating. He's not doing the sky hooks, but he is going out there and making crucial layups. Getting fouled, going to the line after getting the and one, hitting threes, all of those types of things. And I think they're going to need him because as much as it might still kind of feel like a lost cause, this is really no different in my eyes than I think it was 2017 season in which Michigan was kind of limping to the finish line and then ended up being the team no one wanted to play come the NCAA tournament. Yeah, they got ousted rather in a Sweet 16 against Oregon, but nonetheless, I mean, this was a team that no one wanted to play in the 2016-2017 season, or I think that's what it was. So Michigan can still get there, and it starts with Michigan State. And I think that, no, there's no moral victory against Illinois. It sucks they haven't beaten Illinois in the Juwan Howard era still. Obviously, Kofi Coburn was a lot to deal with. Didn't help that Plummer was just hitting everything from deep. I mean, he was, 5 of 7 from 3, just something insane. Half of them with a hand in his face, and just couldn't be stopped. Getting big points from, I think he only had 7 points or maybe 9. I think he had a couple 8. Had a couple free throws, but Hawkins also came in and provided some good bench material. But Michigan's bench kind of stepped up a little bit. We only saw Terrence Williams in the second half, but Frankie Collins with 6 points. That's huge. Kobe Buffkin had a big shot there. You can see the path to, I don't want to say greatness, but being a very good, dangerous team. So the issue is that Michigan needs to get it against a Michigan State team that is honestly relatively on even footing, hasn't been playing great, but also is, just like Michigan got Purdue, they've done similar, having, big shots at the end of games and winning games that they have no business winning. But Michigan also has to remember they got run off the floor last time they played them. But home games tend to be different when it comes to the Michigan State rivalry. And then you've still got Ohio State and Iowa. Is that the other one that I think is left? So if they can get through these next 2 games, particularly if they can win the next 2, I think Michigan's safely in. And I don't know that the Big Ten tournament's necessarily going to be a deal, and I don't think you're necessarily looking for a situation for Michigan to win it all, obviously. I don't think this is that kind of team, but you are looking for a team to catch fire, maybe keep, get to another Sweet 16, something of that nature, because it's certainly possible. I think if they can get in, that can happen, but you never know what you're going to get from this team on any given game. Shooting is still very intermittent. Also need to mention Caleb Houston, who hit some huge shots. So, Illinois was really hard to defend, especially because they changed their offensive style going from one to the next. I said to my roommate, Matt Leach, who was sitting next to me up in the press box area, I hadn't really seen a team run such aggressive screens as Illinois was in the first half, and I could see where that got them out on the perimeter. But then in the second, they went inside to Kofi, and Kofi was quietly got into the 20s, and he's really hard to stop. They're not going to see that type of battle for the rest of the way, but it's still going to be a battle with the 3 teams they have coming up. So I think that if they can get this Michigan State game, it will help them to win the next one, and then we'll see about playing at Ohio State. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We will be back tomorrow at some point debating how we want to do it, if we want to do a post-game reaction. That's always like fatal last words, or if I want to do something before, and then we can talk about the post-game on Wednesday. That's probably more likely what's going to happen. So anyway, thank you for watching and or listening. We will talk to you again soon. Peace.